This is a new time and day, so don't know how much people will show up. Nicole, how you doing? Rocco, Chuck, what's up? Got a few hopping on here. We shall see if our experimental 6:30 time works. JB's fishing. How you doing, man? How's the boat coming? I think my wife is scolding me because I didn't reply to her. Night Fisher, hey. I'm not all alone. I got 5 people on so far. I had 6, so I've already run one off. So we'll have to see. Oh, now we got 8, so that's a good sign. Anthony, how you doing, man? Doing good. JB, Fisherman 83, how you doing? Have I fished lately? Saturday was the last day I fished, Nicole. I've got plans for the weekend. I'm up to 93 bass for the year. Night Fisher, let me be the first question. What, if any, open pour style baits do you use, if any? KVD Dream Shot, Big Hammer Swimbait, Old Rope. Man, Night Fisher, I use all those. I can't believe I mean, even the Big Hammer Swimbait I throw around. Not so much anymore. In fact, I hadn't even heard of the Big Hammer Swimbait until I went down to Kentucky Lake, and everybody was throwing it down there. So that's how I got onto that several years ago, and it's a great lure. The Robo Worms I still throw a lot on drop shots. The KVD Dream Shot is a dream, man. It's fantastic for drop shotting too. So all of those I use. In fact, before you had suggestions there, I was going to mention the Robo Worm because that's probably the one I use the most when it comes to hand poured, open pour style baits. Just design a machine to automatically pour, open pour aluminum molds. Huh. That should be interesting. Dalen, how you doing, buddy? John Gill's on. I'm here now, but I can't stay on. Okay, we'll see you later, John. Chuck M got 4 pike in an hour the other day. Nice. Eric, how's it going, man? I have not gotten into making my own baits, but I've thought about it quite a bit. Right, Clint's here, fashionably late again, but we can start now. He got in at 18:35:15, meaning 5 minutes and 15 seconds late. Jackson, how you doing, man? Has your prize shown up yet? Probably not. It's Wednesday. I shipped them out Monday, so probably not, I'd say. Bass are starting to really bite in Ohio. Man, they're starting to bite all over the place. And so I thought that I would do that today, is start talking a little bit about what to throw first off in the spring. Some of us, and some of you guys down south, you've been throwing all year round, but a lot of guys have been waiting for the water to warm up and the weather to warm up. So I'm going to show you some of the lures that I would use in the springtime, kind of the pre-spawn to the spawn transition. And, you know, you got to kind of think about the seasons and the way the fish move. So as the water warms up, Mother Nature says you got to go to the bank. You got to go shallow and start spawning. And they're all going to do that. And they're all going to head shallow. And they will be interested in different things depending upon where they're at. Eric caught 3 yesterday. One was on the larger swim bait. Nice. Clint to the sand, right on. To the sand. I don't have sand here. Nothing like a good topwater bite. Yes. They're still not hitting topwater for me yet, but oh man, my nose. Definitely ought to start throwing some topwaters as the water warms up. Yeah, we do have beaches. G4 Outdoors is on. My first bait will be a small rooster, possibly with an underspin, white and red. The old rooster tail. At first, I thought he was talking about a real bird. I wanted to see that. Quick question. I heard you bass fished in Florida. I'm going to bass fish there in a week. Got any suggestions? Hold on. What part of Florida are you fishing? If you're fishing Florida strain bass, that's a little different animal. I went and fished down in the Everglades in these canals that are just loaded with alligators and bass and all kinds of fish. And I'm telling you, you could literally drop anything in the water and they would eat it. We probably caught several hundred fish every day we fished there. I need to go back. Best soft plastic bait for saltwater. I don't know, pro noob. I don't fish saltwater. I know that if you're fishing in saltwater for like redfish, though, they will eat a lot of the same lures that bass eat. Hey, this is a good bait. You're right, Anthony. The man's baby -1. I don't have one of those around. I got them in my other room. That is a super shallow running bait. That's almost a wake bait. It's a crankbait, but it runs super shallow. So those Florida strain bass, from what I hear, are very finicky, especially like after a cold front. All bass are, but Florida strain fish are super finicky at certain times and much harder to get to bite. But I haven't fished a ton of those Florida strain bass, so I'm not really the expert to ask on that kind of stuff. Jan, hola. How you doing, man? You're going to the south end of Florida, Rocco. Well, that's where I was at, the Everglades. Okeechobee's down there. What I would do, if you're going down that part of the woods, that part of the world, I'd go watch a lot of videos of guys fishing at Okeechobee. I think there are a lot of grass lakes in Florida as well. My guess is where you go, you're going to run into a lot of grass. And when you're talking grass, just think about the lures that work well in grass, and then make sure that you're appropriately prepared for weedless presentations. Hey, Terry, how you doing? I think you're right, Anthony. It's kind of an old school bait, and a lot of people don't throw them much. Nathan's suggestion is a good one because spinner baits work well in the grass. Obviously not right in it, but you can fish grassy areas with a spinner bait quite well. You can fish chatterbait in the grass. Any top waters work. Look, JB Fishing's giving you some advice here. The Cinco and the frog and the buzzbait. See, that far south, it's already warm enough to start throwing a topwater frog, buzzbaits. It's really warm down there and has been for quite a while. Hey, Ronald. How you doing? Black and blue Cinco. Something like a jig. I don't know if a jig would work there or not. You might have to use a swim jig or something that you can swim in the grass. Of course, I'm assuming there's a lot of grass. There may not be, but I've just heard a lot of Florida fisheries have a lot of grass. I know Okeechobee does. Even Jan's got a suggestion here. Oh no, he's talking about saltwater, but the flukes are not a bad idea in grass either. Jan fishes lots of salt water. There's your source. Jackson just got back from baseball practice. Right on. Royals opening days tomorrow, so we're pretty pumped up about it. Pretty excited. Should be wearing my Royals hat. I'll be wearing my Royals hat. That's a good idea. My Ned rig hat to stay up there. Right on. Baseball season. All right, you got all kinds of suggestions there, Rocco. You know what I like fishing in the grass, and I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, is I like fishing the Tokyo rig in grass. The Tokyo rig is really just kind of a miniature. It's almost like a miniature Carolina rig, and you can keep that lure up with the weight below you. It's also kind of like a modified drop shot. But the Tokyo rig, I was surprised how well it works in the grass. Curly Q, I am up to 93 bass. I'm going to break 100 this weekend. I can feel it. Going to break 100. Definitely. I noticed a lot of people are starting to catch fish, which is good. I told you guys Friday, or on the Saturday night live, I was fishing with my buddy Dean and caught that 5-pounder. Wonder if I posted that. I'm sure I posted it on Instagram. If I did, I can pull up a picture of it and show it to you. Interesting thing about that day was we could not get bit. We went in for a couple of hours, could not get a single bite. And then we moved back into super, super shallow water. And that's where I found that 5-pound bass and caught her on the dark sleeper. In fact, my buddy Dean, he is now sold on the dark sleeper. He caught his first dark sleeper fish last weekend. I know he caught at least 4 bass with his dark sleeper. I use a Johnson Silver Minnow with a fluke trailer in the grass still. That is old school. You're not kidding. I'll tell you what, I've done the same thing in the grass. And so the silver minnow works quite well. The silver minnow is completely weedless also, which is great. N5 KDA is in the house. How you doing? Young Mike. Oh my goodness, this is a tragedy right here. We gotta help this guy out. Been out 15 times and not caught a single fish yet. Dude, put a Cinco on. That is a sad, sad story right there. Sad. Jackson the Spark Shad is a nice bait too, for sure. Ice is just out in northern Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire. Dude, I don't know if I could take it. I absolutely love fishing up there north in the summertime, but man, I don't know if I could take any the rest of the time. With all that. Of course, you guys ice fish, and ice fishing looks pretty fun. Ma Check, how you doing, buddy? Poor young Mike. I don't know where this guy lives, but to be out to fish 15, he's fished more than me this year if he's been out 15 times already. Not a single fish. Wow. Where's he fishing? Greenland? Jan's throwing down. Look at that. He's throwing down the hammer. $10. Dude. Nice. Thanks, Jan. Ice fishing is really fun, according to Kathy Knoll. Pro noob. All we get, me and my grandpa, is catfish. Hey, if I'm hungry, I'm all for catfishing. I can't stand how slimy they are, though, man. If I'm fun fishing, I do not want to fun fish for catfish. That slime gets all over you, the boat carpet. Geez, it's terrible. But I know there's a lot of diehard catfishers out there who do not care. Mr. B, how do you fish a dark sleeper like a jig? Well, here's the thing about the dark sleeper. Let me get my deal. It's on a jig head. There is the hook. It hides behind the dorsal fin here. I think that's called the dorsal fin. And that hook goes down, and there is a weight here. It's like a big fat jig head in there with a hook. So it is head or nose heavy. So think about this thing. They make this thing up into at least an ounce. Let me see what other sizes they got. It goes up to an ounce. 3/4 usually the heaviest I throw, but there's times when I might throw an ounce. So I swim it most of the time, but there's no reason you couldn't flip this and flip and pitch it like you would any kind of a jig or anything else. And that would definitely be something different that the fish have not seen. And then you can hop it just like a jig. You can drag it, or you can swim it. And that swimming action is crazy. A lot of times the way I fish it is I throw it out there, let it drop to the bottom, and then I try to keep bottom contact and reel it in. But this weekend, the fish were in really shallow water that was just full of grass. And when I say full of grass, I am talking from about a foot below the surface of the water, solid, thick grass all the way to the bottom. Obviously, it grows from the bottom up. And you couldn't, the grass was so thick you couldn't even swim this in the grass. You had to literally reel it fast enough to keep it up super shallow so that it was running along the top of the grass in that 1 foot of water. And that's where they were, and they'd slam it. So that's the way I would fish it, like a jig, Woody. Real Life says ice fishing is the same as open water. Yeah, G4 is a catfisher. That's right. It's a laid back sport, meaning you do it in a lawn chair. I think that's what he means. I love eating catfish, though. I love it. I don't know about those. What do they call that? Noodling, when they go down and stick their hand in a hole and pull a big catfish out. I, for the life of me, cannot figure that out. Why? Why in the world? They just chew your skin up. I know sometimes they'll wear stuff to protect their arms, but a lot of times they don't. It is just crazy. Real Life, I've seen these. You can get knockoff dark sleepers on Amazon, $6 or $14. I know they look a lot alike. I don't trust them, though. There is something about, maybe I'm just naive, but there's something about this plastic and the subtle way it moves in the water. I guarantee you that they're not using the same material as Megabass, but knock yourself out. I'd love to hear how they work. G4 says that's called idiots. He's talking about those noodlers, those catfish noodlers. Yeah, grab a snapping turtle. It's all fun and games until there's a snapping turtle in there. I think it definitely takes a different personality to stick your hand in an unknown dark cavity underneath some tree root. Not gonna happen. All right, I was gonna show you guys some springtime baits, or a cottonmouth. Yeah, no doubt. So what do you throw in the springtime for fun? For catching bass? What I usually do, here, when the water starts to thaw, they're still in the pre-spawn, usually. And then as the water warms up, then you can go to what I would call just barely pre-spawn, moving into the spawn. And the barely pre-spawn, moving into the spawn, to me is some of the funnest times to fish. But we've already talked about some of the pre-spawn, where the water's really cool. Stuff like a jerkbait. Jerkbaiting definitely catches them in the pre-spawn. You could throw an A-rig in the pre-spawn. You can do a lot of things, like crankbait fishing, and maybe some balsa crankbaits, some flat-sided crankbaits, that kind of thing. And where I'm at right now, we're transitioning out of the jerkbait phase, and we're moving into the pre-spawn, soon to be the spawn here in the next few weeks. So my strategy is the Ned rig, Jeff. Actually, what I try to do first, if I'm not familiar with the water, is I try to use a moving bait to see where they're at and what they're doing. And what I've found all spring so far is every time I throw a moving bait, I don't get any interest in it, which is why I've been going to the Ned rig. I've been going to the Shaky head, that kind of stuff. But to locate fish and to see what they're interested in, I'm going to throw some moving baits first. One of the first moving baits I throw around this time frame is going to be the jackhammer, or any kind of a chatterbait. a vibrating jig. And what I found kind of all through the month of February, no luck on this. All through most of March, no luck. But the last 2 weeks of March, they've started hitting this. It's still not the best choice for where I'm at right now. But this, this is a great staple lure. Doesn't have to be this color, although I kind of like this color in the springtime. But a lot of times I go with something natural. I've got kind of 3 standard colors I use on my chatterbaits. I use the I'll throw a black and blue some, and on occasion, and some other colors like spot remover. But generally speaking, I'm going to throw that red one for a very short period of time. Then I'm going to throw some kind of a green pumpkin, bluegill pattern. Sometimes it's just straight green pumpkin. A lot of times I like this bluegill color. And then you've got to have white, some type of a white, either solid white or a white and chartreuse. Something like that is what I'm going to try. If I don't get any bites on that, well, it could be because of the vibration. It could be a lot of different things. Do you like to hop and drop or swim a bladed jig? I swim it most of the time. I have had times where I kind of do that hop and drop, if you will. What I'll do is I'll take the slack up and then I'll kind of drag it with my rod, then let the slack off and let it kind of drop. Then reel up the slack line, drag my rod, and then let it drop again. Sometimes that technique does work. If the vibration doesn't attract them, so then I might go to a like the Divine Swim jig here. This is a nice bluegill color. This is called Cajun bluegill. Or I will go to a spinnerbait. A lot of times the spinnerbait works when the chatterbait won't work, or vice versa. So I like War Eagle spinnerbaits. There's a lot of spinnerbaits I like out there. Pro Noob, I have tried some Guggen baits, not a lot. Woody throws the white fluke or a finesse jig. I will throw a finesse jig. I don't know why I don't fish more flukes, because whenever I do, I always have fun with them. But generally speaking, it's not my go-to. I'm going to try something else before I pick up a fluke. Razor fishing. I'm from New York, and the air temps are about 50 right now. Any suggestions for pond fishing baits? Yeah. If you're in the 40 and 50 degree water range, and your water might be warmer than 50, even though your air temps are 50, could be low 50s, I'd go with something super finessey like a Ned rig or a Shaky head. I also would throw a swim bait, some sort of a little swim bait. Up where you're at, though, you may not have a ton of grass. I don't know if you do or not. And if you don't have a lot of grass, then I might throw a crankbait as well, like a Rapala. Why can't I think of it? Oh, man. Anyway, it'll come to me in a minute. The DTs work fine, but I'm really thinking of the somebody help me here. You guys know what I'm talking about. The cold water, Rapala, skinny. Can't think of them at the moment. Somebody will pick it up here in a second. But when I go to ponds in the cold water, like I said, I'll be throwing a moving bait, but most of the time a moving bait's not going to work when the water's really cold. Shad wrap. That's right. That is right. I'd throw that if I didn't have a lot of grass and stuff to get it hung up on. Look at this. Christopher Shoes buying kayaks. Just bought a new Yakka Perception 11.5 Outlaw. She loves it. Hey, speaking of kayaks, guess what I saw at Sam's Club? They are selling kayaks at Sam's Club, and they are selling a fishing kayak at Sam's Club. I took a picture of it. If you are wanting a kayak but on limited budget, I don't know how well this will show up doing it like this. Check that out. $329 sit on top fishing kayak. It's got rod holders. It's got a seat that's folded down right now. $329. Now I'm sure it's not a pedal drive. There weren't many good pictures. I mean, unfortunately, it was all wrapped in plastic, but that's the fold down seat right there. And you can see there's a built-in rod holder. There's at least two on it. It's even got track. It's got a track system up here. So $329 for a sit on top fishing kayak. Pretty crazy. Lifetime Products is the name of the company. So if you're one of those guys who are like, there's no way I can spend $1,000 on a kayak. The problem with the $300 kayaks have always been they're the sit-in kind. And you need one you can sit on top to really fish. And that one looks like it works. Yeah, I agree with you, Christopher. Fold down seat, rod holders, definitely worth $329. Do I like Daiwa reels? Absolutely. I do like Daiwa reels, and I have several. My preferred reel is Shimano, but I really like Daiwas as well. Look at old Christopher Shoe dropping the big bucks. Dropping the big bucks. Is that for your wife's or yours, Christopher? Walmart has a sit-on-top kayak for $400. It's the wide body fishing one, and it's really nice kayak my brother-in-law just bought. Yeah. Here's the great thing. Kayak fishing is getting so popular that you're going to be able to find really decent kayaks for pretty decent money. They're just going to get cheaper. Yeah, it has a paddle too. You're right. How about that? They even throw in a paddle on that Sam's Club kayak. I saw it in there. Christopher says he spends $2,000 on his kayak. He would not let her loose with $2,000. Oh man. Okay. Fair enough. Okay, so when I go through the moving baits bait phase, then I switch up. But I've really liked the dark sleeper in cold water and warm water. It catches them in both. I have thrown some bigger swim baits, but not had a ton of luck in the cold water on the really big ones, probably because I'm just not patient enough to throw it all day long for one bite. Yeah, those are good reels, Anthony. They're very good reels. All right, then as the water warms up, I might throw a square bill, something maybe like this this monster bass, any kind of a 1.5 square bill. I'm going to throw that in the springtime. I'm going to throw that spinnerbait in the springtime. I'm going to throw that chatterbait. And possibly I'm going to throw a swim jig. I'll show you a few of the other swim baits that I might throw while the water's still cool in the springtime. You can never go wrong with the kayak. This is a little underspin. This is a weedless presentation. Works great around the grass. This would be a good Florida lure, Rocco. The old kayak swim bait. And then if I feel like upsizing, I'll go to something like this. This is a Scottsboro tackle swim bait. And this is weedless as well. But the more I fish, the more I'm liking swim baits. Years ago, I didn't even think about throwing a swim bait, and it's kind of taken over my thinking with the kayaks and the dark sleepers. Guggen Slayer, how you doing, man? Dad Bod's here now too. So we're talking about springtime fishing, springtime lures and baits, Dad Bod. Yeah, Guggen Slayer, I've been smashing them. I was going to show you guys my 5-pounder that I caught. This is my biggest bass of the year so far. Let me go to share my screen. You guys have seen this if you've gone to my Instagram. Check that out. 5-pounder. And I couldn't believe it. I left my scale, but my buddy Dean had one, and it was right at 5 pounds. Yeah, Scottsboro tackle, man. Those things, boy, they are something. And the plastic on these Scottsboro lures are, they're, you know, it's like the Megabass. It's just really, really high quality stuff. Great subtle action. All right, John's here. David's here too. Hey, that's a good thought too. David says he puts paddle tail swim baits on the swinging football heads. You know, not a bad idea unless you're in like real thick grassy stuff. Guggen Slayer killed it today. Nice. Roger's got 10 fish under his belt for the year. Broke the 10 fish mark. Excellent. That is really nice. That fish that I just showed you, this one here, this is what I caught it on. Dark sleeper. This is it. They likey. They like those dark sleepers. Guggen Slayer. He's been hammering them on the Ned rig. Yeah, so I'm definitely throwing a Ned rig this time of year. I thought I'd show you a couple of those I've got here with me. I thought I'd show you a few different Ned rigs that I use. I fish around a lot of wood and timber and stuff at that Smithville Lake. In fact, G4 Outdoors knows all about Smithville and how much wood there is in that lake. So I go with a weedless Ned head, and I really like these by Lifted Jigs. And I think I got one tied on here, maybe. No, I don't. I thought I did, but I was going to show you what it looks like rigged up. I got a head here though, and I'll rig one on real quick so you can see what it looks like. Then of course the old TRD. You got to have a TRD. This color is called Copper Truce, and it works very well. And this is an open hook. You can see it's a tiny hook. but it doesn't take a very big hook. Here's a little Z-Man craw that goes on a Ned rig. This thing's super lifelike. The good thing about this Elastec material is super stretchy, super strong, lasts and lasts and lasts, but it floats too. So these pinchers will float straight up when you're fishing that. So Roger Hall caught 8 today. Dude, I know about forgetting your scale, but that's a sad thing when you get a big fish, especially if you end up landing your personal best. That would be terrible. For your Ned heads, is lighter better? Jeff, lighter is definitely better. You're going to get more bites the lighter you can go. So like, see this head? This is a real tiny head. I try to go as light as I can. And then I'll bump up. Like these heads really are too big. But if you're in really deep water or you're in really strong current, you might need to go something this heavy. But I prefer to go as light as possible on the Ned heads. Here's another one. I like this. I think these are called ticklers. It's a TRD, but it's just got a couple of tentacles, a few tentacles on the end. I like this one quite a bit. That's a little bigger Ned head, but it's still pretty light. Copper Truce is a slayer color. It really is. That, you know, there's something about that chartreuse. You might say to yourself, where did I put that thing down? Man, that looks too bright. There's too much chartreuse on it. But most of the time I find even as bright as this looks, you know, it's laminate, so you've got kind of like a Canada craw color on this side and bright chartreuse on the other, and the fish love it. They love that color. Here's another color that does great for me in this part of the world. June bug. June bug works. So what I do to save myself space, these TRDs come in a pack of 8. Look how many I got in there. I bet I got 20 in there. I'll just grab all my favorite colors and put them all in one bag because, you know, these Elastecs, man, they're dangerous. They will melt everything in your box if they touch other plastic. So you just got to keep them separated. They'll even warp your Plano boxes over time. So this is what I do. I just take all the colors I want to fish with that day, and I fill one bag full of about 20 of them. Although one bait will last you 50 fish. They last a long time. All right, we're getting a little fuzz here on the screen, aren't we? Or is that just me? Roger got a 5 or 6 pounder today and was so mad about not bringing his scale. Yeah, that would make me mad. Definitely. Christopher Shue. Well, at least Burley's got some. I know Burley loves the Ned rig too. He's a big Ned rig fisherman. Left my Z-Mans at home, so I use them. Yeah. A Yamamoto Cinco you can cut in half and it works fine as well. Got 15 on that one. I got a few alternate baits that I like. The Ned Ocho is a nice Ned rig bait too. I like that one. And this is what they call perfect plastic, which is kind of like Elastec. It lasts a really long time. just like the elastic. I think the robo worms, man, they're beautiful. They really, robo worm, back to hand poured, great worms. These things really, really look great. They're not nearly as durable as the Z-Man, but they look great. Look at that thing. Man, they look great, and they definitely catch fish. This is a great color here. This one's called Green Pumpkin Perch. Look at that. It's got this little chartreuse tail. It's got a tiny chartreuse line running down, and then green pumpkin. I mean, that's a very, very nice color. They don't float up as much as the Z-Mans do. Have I tried the rabbit baits? Dude, go watch my video. I got a couple out there now where that rabbit baits. It's called the Rabid Foxtail. That thing is lights out insane. I have caught so many fish on that thing. I don't have any of them here with me at the moment. But yes, Woody, I have tried it. I am a believer. Amazing. Let's see here. Never thought about being a co-angler. I'm going to try to figure out how to do it. Right on, Roger. You can do it. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't know what happened with that blurry thing there, but it looks like it's cleared up. All right, I got to catch up on the comments here. Guggen Slayer got a 4 or 5 pounder today. No scale too. Man, what's up with the no scale crowd? That's painful. JB's giving us a little education on how fish see colors. Chartreuse becomes white with depth, and white is the Studio 49 disco ball of fishing. Check that out. That's a classic statement right there, JB. The Studio 49 disco ball of fishing. Bam. Shoot, Christopher, I'm amazed by rabbit baits. When I first saw them, the first time they came in my Monster Bass box, I thought, what is this? Oh, gimmick, another gimmick. And I was wrong. Man, the subtlety of the fuzzy, man, it's something. Oh, Guggen Slayer was trying out all the brands. He brought him 4 different creature bait brands out there on the water. Now that's diversity right there. David says the rabbit's like the fuzzy grub. It is fuzzy, man. All right, Eric's talking about bluegrass magic color. Matthew, I'm glad you made it, dude. What does a co-angling job intern? I do not know what you mean, Christopher. Mr. Bass caught 12 bass in the past 4 days, and up here in Jersey, caught a lot of 2 and 3 pounders. Great. That's the way to do it, man. Caught a couple off the iSlide 135, dude. That's not as big as mine. Mine's the 262. So this is what Matthew said. He caught a few fish on this bad boy. The iSlide glide bait. Glides back and forth in the water. He just had the smaller one than this. Nice. Oh, what do you do as a co-angler? Yeah, so the way co-angling works is you sign up for a tournament, and you're not going to drive the boat. You're going to ride in a boat with somebody else. And they decide where to fish, and they control the water, and you just fish behind them. And you compete against all the other co-anglers in the tournament. And the guy driving the boat competes against all the other guys driving the boat. So you're not competing with the guy in the boat, although he's trying to win, so he doesn't want you to catch his fish, and vice versa. So that's how that goes. Real life, I do not participate in any fantasy fishing. I'm not opposed to it. I just don't have the time for it, man. I got so much other stuff going on in my life that when I have a spare minute, I'm either YouTubing or fishing. I know it would be pretty fun. I know a lot of the anglers. I know a lot of them personally, and I know a lot about a lot of them. So it would probably be fun, but no, I don't mess with it. Guggen Slayer says dark water bug and mud belly are his favorite 6 cents plastic colors. See, I haven't thrown any of my 6 cents plastic yet. I got a bunch of it, but I haven't used it. I keep going back to my tried and true. Jackson caught a few yesterday. Christopher Chestnut, what are some good beginning baits? I'm telling you, Christopher, if you're just getting started, you cannot go wrong with a worm. Any kind of a worm. I'll show you this time of year what I like to throw is I like to throw a shaky head. And I will throw it on a trick worm. I brought some bright colors here to kind of show you what I throw on the beds. You know, methylate, bubblegum, white. But this weekend I was throwing the June bug trick worm, and I throw it on a shaky head. This is my favorite shaky head right here. This is made by Owner. It's an EWG style hook. I do not like the screw lock keepers at all. I hate the screw lock keepers. And so this is my go-to. This is the one I'm going to go to 9 times out of 10. I have another head that I throw quite a bit, though. I got this from Aaron Martins, watching some of his videos. And this head really comes through grass well. See how it's kind of flat-sided. And then it's kind of pointed. And the line tie is built into the head here. I don't know if you can see that, but the line tie is kind of built into the head. This stands up well. This has, I think this is called an O'Shaughnessy sort of bend. It's not nearly as big of a hook as the EWG, but they both work fine. I've never had problems catching fish, and I don't lose fish on these. So these are the two shaky heads that I'm throwing 99% of the time. The only other thing I do differently is if I'm throwing a super big, fat, massive shaky worm, like the Magnum, the Z-Man Magnum worm, I don't know what they call that thing. It's a really big, fat worm. Then I use this head. This head is made by Jewel Baits. And this thing works really well for Z-Man plastics as a last tech, this little keeper. And it's a lot bigger hook, and that's why I use this. In fact, Stephen Browning got me on this. This is how I learned about this. I was fishing a tournament with Stephen Browning. I was his co-angler, and he was using this exact head, and he got me onto it. All right, let me catch up on some of the comments here. How did I get into fishing? Well, I fished as a kid around farm ponds and never really liked it a whole lot. And part of it, I think, is because my dad was not into fishing at all. I didn't have any relatives into fishing. Me and my brothers would go some. I'd fish with my buddy Dean, the one that you guys see in my videos. He and I were kids. We used to fish farm ponds some, but I didn't have any money and I did not have any good equipment at all, ever. In fact, I was usually like borrowing lures from Dean. So I did other stuff. I rode horses a lot, and I did a lot of other things as a kid. I did not fish a ton. But once I became an adult, I got more into it, and I just decided to get back into trying fishing some because of another good friend of mine. His name is Jim. He's been on a few of my videos. He just talked about how much he loved fishing and really enjoyed it, and so I got back into it, and I've been buried into it for quite a few years now. So that's how I got into it. Between the Ego fishing tackle bag and tackle backpack that you recently reviewed on your channel, which do you prefer and why? Okay, good question. Great question, actually. I tend to prefer the bags over the backpacks because I am rarely ever in a situation where I need backpack straps because I'm usually not carrying it on my back. Even if I go fish the bank, which I do like to fish the bank quite a bit, I don't carry a bunch of tackle with me fishing the bank. I'll take a handful of lures and I'll just throw them in my pocket. And unless I got treble hooks, then I'll put them in. I'll wrap them in something like a square bill. I'll wrap it in one of those bait wraps or something and put it in my pocket and fish the bank. And then when I'm on the boat, I don't need backpack straps either. So I usually go to the bags for that reason. That Ego bag, though, is very, very nice. I'm really liking it a ton. And part of the reason why is I take it in my truck and I'll use it when I go fish the bank or when I go with my kayak, and I just kind of use it as a backup bag. I don't really put it on the boat, but I have a lot of stuff in it. The top part of the bag, I put like, I'll put my cold weather gear, my rain gear, my food, snacks, water, that kind of stuff. It's a really nice size compartment up there. And then I put all the tackle beneath. And I used that tackle backpack on the last tournament at Lake of the Ozarks as a co-angler, and it worked great. It worked really, really well. It's a big bag, but it's still small enough that it will fit in a compartment in the boat behind the seat usually, which is where the co-angler bag usually goes. So I think you can't go wrong either way, man, to tell you the truth. They are both great bags, very, very well built, super high quality, and they look super cool. Ned Fry from 6 Cents is nice. Six Craw is amazing. Mr. Bass and the Fishing Backpack reviews. Do you plan on reviewing the Piscafun? Well, I don't know, because a lot of these bags I've bought, some I've had companies donate to me. I've reached out to these guys several times. They've never responded to me, so I don't think they're going to donate a bag. So I probably won't go buy it to do a review on it. So unfortunately, Eric, the answer is probably no on that one. Let's see. If you're just getting into fishing, grab some crankbaits. Yeah, that's true too. Like the square bill crankbaits are good because they're harder to get hung up and lose, especially if you're fishing from the bank. You're still going to lose some of them, but this is a square bill, meaning the bill of the lure is shaped, squared off, and that helps the lure bounce off of cover better than a round bill. Like here's a round bill, these wiggle warts, and they're going to get hung up around wood and timber and stuff more than a square bill. So the guy who said he was just getting into fishing, that is a good recommendation, throwing a square bill. I throw a chatterbait too, because a chatterbait is just so easy to fish with. It really is very easy to fish with. And you're usually going to catch fish with it. Something like this, vibrating jig. And you need to throw some worms. Throw some worms for sure. All right, so I've been fishing a lot with a shaky head in the spring. The Ned rig we talked about. The Tokyo rig is good on beds. I don't have the Tokyo rig here in front of me, but I'll put something like a creature bait or a beaver style bait on a Tokyo rig and fish it around beds. That works really well, actually. Just a good color here. I think this is Okeechobee color. Christopher Shue. I think I did that already. Not sure, but he has to be close to reviewing every bag. Yeah. I've reviewed a lot of them, Christopher, but I have not reviewed that Pixaphon or Piscaphon or whatever it's called. I got a Gamakatsu bag that I just did a video on. It'll be coming out here in the next day or two. The Lose bag has a ton of room. It's got a ton of pockets and space. It looks really good. The only thing that worries me about that Lose bag is the stitching on the pockets did not seem very good. I'd be interested to see if anybody has that bag, if they've had problems with the pockets or if it was just the one that I was looking at. See you, Roger. Thanks for hopping on. Said he's leaving. I think the Bass Pro bag for 30 is the best value. JB. I have some pretty cool news. I believe it was last week. One of my dad's friends and fishing partners caught a tagged crappie at Lake Weiss that was worth $1,000. Jeez. Okay, if you guys aren't familiar with this, there are some conservation departments that tag fish. They'll tag crappie, they'll tag bass, they may even tag catfish, and they put them back in the lake. And then if you catch one and find a tag on it, you can take it in and they will pay you usually. And most of the time it's for research. They want to know what's going on with the fish and the fishery, and that's how they get people to turn the fish in. But $1,000, wow, that's pretty impressive. Rock Crawler is a great crankbait Guggen Slayer. I don't think I have any of those hanging up here, but I agree. I like the Rock Crawler a lot. They don't spell it R-O-C-K though. They spell it like R-C-K or something. They leave the vowels out or something. So if you're looking for it. Let's see. How many rods do you generally take out on your kayak? Well, I try to take as few as possible because they're such a pain. If I put them in the horizontal rods where they're laying flat, then it's hard to get them around and out of each other. So I usually stick them up and that works fine, except if you get near trees or anything overhangs, the next thing you know, your rods are all caught up in the trees. It's a total pain. That's the worst part about kayak fishing, other than maybe the wind. So Usually I'll have about 4 rods, 4 to 6 rods though. Here's another tagged fish story. In North Carolina, catch the crappie with the red tag, get $4,000. That is insane. Christopher says he has the Lose bags and he doesn't have any problems with it. It's a really good looking bag. And it's got tons of room. Tons of room. Alex Rudd loves the rock crawler. Woody, was that the first fish you caught, and what were you using? Are you asking me, Woody, or somebody else? Because that bass, that big bass that I showed you guys, no, that was about fish number 88 probably for me this year. But it was my biggest so far. Mr. Bass, if you buy the Z-Man big goat and you cut all the appendages off, you can turn it into a depth scat bait. Yeah, I saw that. I saw someone on Instagram or something show that. It looks really cool. And it's definitely got me thinking of trying that out. I think I've got a few of those goats. So I probably will try it. All right, so JB told us a good story. I am going to share a sad story. Let me see if I can find it here. All right. My daughter sent me this today just to show you how cruel she can be. She sent me this video along with a note that says 3 years ago today. So let me make sure I'm sharing this here to show you guys what I'm talking about, how sad. How could a daughter be this cruel is what I want to know. It's really a good question to ask. All right, here she is. And I need to turn the sound up maybe. Let's see so you can hear the sound. All right, I'm going to play this for you guys. Uh-oh, the sound's not working. Oh, I got it turned off. All right, I got to rewind it because you got to hear what she says. All right, this should work now. Here's Reed's fourth fish today. I've only caught one, and Kevin's only caught one, and she's caught 4. It's terrible. Here's Reed's fourth fish today. I've only caught one, and Kevin's only caught one, and she's caught 4. It's terrible. Am I right or am I right? Is that cruel? Is that cruel or what? Clint says, when are you coming to East Texas so we can get you closer to that 1,000 goal? I know it, man. I need to do that. Matthew's at 15 fish. And 1 trout. But he only started 2 weeks ago. That's pretty good. When you first started fishing when you were a kid, what was the first fish you caught and what were you using? We used to throw just night crawlers because we couldn't afford a bunch of lures. And then every once in a while we would throw a rooster tail, a little MEP spinner. Rooster tails and MEP spinners is what we would throw most of the time. And I have no idea what the first fish was. It was probably a bluegill or a crappie, or could have even been a small bass. Woody. Yep, if he's using the right bait, whatever. She's a very patient fisherman. She doesn't fish much, but she beat me in Kevin because she was very slow and methodical. She was fishing something like a Ned rig on the bottom, and she crushed us the whole day. I mean, it just kept going and kept getting worse. Eric has caught 16 bass, around 20 bluegill, and 15-ish crappie. Nice. Anyway, that's my sad story for the day. 3 years ago, to the day, my daughter outfished me. Yeah, rooster tails and little mep spinners and little jitterbugs on the topwater are all great pond lures, and they're not that expensive either. So just that's what I would try, Woody. If you're just starting out fishing ponds, get you some worms, get you some mep spinners, maybe some rooster tails, and just go at it. Jackson, that was a lake at her apartment complex. She actually had a lake, a little lake. It was like a pond, really. It was a pretty good sized pond right in the middle of the apartment complex with fish in it. You could walk right out of her apartment and fish. It was awesome. I know, JB. Kids and grandkids beat you all the time. Spinners, let's see. Here's another lure I throw this time of year around the beds. Lizard. If I'm throwing like a dark lizard, I like these blue tails on the end. Something about lizards on beds, man. The fish do not like lizards. So I'll throw something like this. I might throw a natural color, and then I also will throw this white. Guess what I caught my personal best fish on? White lizard. Caught a 9-pounder on a white lizard. It was this very lure, the Zoom 6-inch lizard. Big fish will eat it. You can just Texas rig it, fish it right in there on the beds. I caught that 9-pounder on a Carolina rigged lizard. Just dragging it really slow in colder water. And you can also put a lizard on a shaky head if you want. Lizards are great. They really, really are. Excellent, excellent lures. And a lot of guys don't throw lizards. I really think lizards work everywhere. I would be surprised if there's a part of the country that lizards don't work. A lot of guys only fish them in the springtime, though. Here, Matthew's talking about the depths. Bull flats work amazing for bed fishing. But he prefers post spawn. Yep. Another lure I will fish in the springtime. Does this look familiar? Or this. I usually fish a head like this, kind of like an Arky style head in the springtime. This is more of an Arky, but this is kind of a hybrid Arky style head. JB might tell us what he calls this head. What's this head here called? This head. I call it kind of a modified Arky head. It's not an Arky head, but it's kind of like it. Okay, how do I fish jerkbaits? Christopher Shoe's asking. I usually only fish jerkbaits in the cold months. I know some guys like KVD fishes them year round. A lot of guys, in fact, in August or September, year before last, I was at St. Lawrence River, and there were a couple of pros fishing them on the St. Lawrence above the grass. But I fish jerkbaits usually in open water, clear water circumstances where the water's cold. You'll find some schooling fish, or you'll fish in areas where you feel like the fish have moved out a little bit. And I usually fish my jerkbaits on a bait caster. St. Croix has a nice bait, a nice rod for jerkbaits. So does G. Loomis. And I also have a Lew's jerkbait rod that I really like. It has a really short butt handle. I like a really short handle for jerkbait fishing because, you know, you twitch, twitch, pause, twitch, twitch, pause, twitch, twitch, pause. And the fish normally hit it on the pause. And depending upon how cold the water is, you have to pause it longer, the colder the water. Some of my favorite jerkbaits are the, I wonder if I got my, I put them back in the back. I like these that I just showed you guys, the Rick Clunn. These Rick Clunn jerkbaits you can buy at Walmart for $8. They actually work great. They've got some really good color patterns, and they work quite well. Made by Lucky Strike. And I like my Mega Bass Vision 110s and the 110+1s. I usually will fish them on about 8-pound test line, sometimes 6-pound test, sometimes 10. And I use, normally I use fluorocarbon line for my jerkbaits. Sometimes I'll use mono. And it's not rocket surgery. You just throw it out there and get to twitching. Okay, JB's telling me about the head now. It's a grass style head. I kind of thought he might say that. Where did I put those jigs now? Oh, here they are. So this is the head he's saying is more of like a grass style head, which makes sense. It's narrower. It's narrower than a Arky head, so it's going to get through grass a lot easier. He calls it the universal head, meaning it works in about every kind of situation, around grass, rocks, wood, in the mud, the sand. But a jig, I like jig fishing. Jig fishing is really fun. Jig fishing will catch you bigger fish. Sometimes it's not going to catch you as many, but throwing a jig in the springtime is a lot of fun. Matthew says his favorite jerkbait is the Mega Bass Ito Shiner. and Kanata on Depp's Bali Song. Matthew, I have some of the KVD jerkbaits as well. They're good. Here's a 6 cents provoke. I haven't really thrown many. I've fished the provoke really one time so far on out at Stockton Lake, and they weren't really biting the jerkbait that day, so we had to switch to the rock crawler. Well, you got to have your priorities, Christopher. If you got to buy a $2,000 kayak, I understand why you can't buy the St. Croix rod. I'll tell you what, that Lew's rod is pretty awesome, though. Casting rods. Lew's. I'll show you a picture of it here on Tackle Warehouse if I can find it here. I think it's this one here. Yeah, it is this one. It's called the Lew's Custom Plus Speed Stick. And let me try to share the screen. I can show you what I'm talking about. All right, if you notice, the butt section is really short. And like I said, I like a butt section really short so that when you're twitching that rod, it doesn't snag on your coat. What I found with the longer ones is, especially, a lot of times you're wearing a bigger, heavier coat in the colder weather, and it will snag on your pocket or all kinds of things. It's just a pain. But this Lew's Speed Stick has a really nice short little butt section, and works great. And you can get this in a 5'9" and a 6'8" right now. They've got other sizes, I'm pretty sure. Maybe it's just all that Tackle Warehouse has right now. But it's $149. I mean, you know, it's not super cheap, but it's not super expensive either. And I've been really happy with mine. Guggen Slayer's personal best is on the provoke. How big was it, Guggen Slayer? Yeah, I've looked at those orange crushes, and don't they have a purple one too? I don't have any of them though. This is a true statement for life. That's a life statement. Eric Brewer. We need a Mr. Bass lure. I agree. I'm thinking about a Mr. Bass rat. That would be fun. A Mr. Bass rat. Yeah, the Ito. He's talking about this jerkbait. The Ito has a more aggressive action, stays in the bite zone longer. You can twitch it very lightly. Still has very good dart action. Stays in the water longer. Let's see here. Anthony throws the War Eagle heavy finesse jig. That sounds like sounds counterintuitive. What do you mean heavy finesse jig? But this is something that's going on in the fishing world right now, where guys are coming up with, because of tungsten weights, more and more companies are starting to make heavy finesse jigs. And the key to finesse is the size. You want it to be small and compact. And that's the beauty of tungsten. You can have a lot heavier weights. So I have a lot of kayak finesse jigs that they're 1/2 ounce, and they're smaller than some of my old school lead jigs that are half the weight of that. It's pretty awesome. There are times when you really need a finesse jig, but you need more weight to get it down where it needs to be. And so I don't doubt you, Anthony. I bet that does work quite well. Team Custom Black loses his heavy rod. 7-1. How about that? 7-1 on the provoke. That is a nice bass. I'd like to see a picture of that. So the purple's $200 more. What's the difference between orange and purple? I mean, I guess they're completely different setups, obviously, if one's $200 more. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the colors, but maybe I would be. Here's another deal with the compact ones. A heavy wire hook. That's pretty important too. Debo really likes the War Eagle Heavy Finesse jig. Cool. All right, so I think that's all the baits that I set aside tonight to show you guys. Man, here's you know, when I was putting all these together, one thing I was thinking about, and it's really true. The great thing about springtime is so much works. So many different baits work in the springtime. And it's because the fish are shallow, they're easy to find, they're aggressive, they're trying to feed. They're either trying to feed up in the pre-spawn, or they're trying to protect the beds once they're spawning. So they're very aggressive, and it's just so much easier to catch fish in the spring. And you almost in the spring, it's all you could almost say there's no such thing as a bad lure in the springtime. Now, obviously, there's some that are going to work better than others, but literally, you could just about break open your tackle box, grab any lure in the springtime, go shallow, start fishing with it. You're probably going to catch something. It's that great this time of year. So don't let it pass you by. Now's the time to break out your tackle and go fishing. Henry is asking, what's your best spot during pre-spawn? Like on a lake? What's your favorite bait? Well, I just kind of said it, Henry. You can throw anything in the pre-spawn. But I'm more of a finesse fisherman. I'm more of a slow fisherman. So I'm going to tend to gravitate towards slow techniques like the shaky heads or the Ned rigs. But my favorite moving bait is a chatterbait. I'm going to throw that as often as I can. I absolutely love throwing a chatterbait. And the spot in the pre-spawn, Brandon Polinack does a really cool video. It's like an hour-long training. It might be 2 hours, where he talks about I think he calls it the opportunity triangle or some triangle. And he takes a lake map and he basically says, here's the lake. And if you just kind of work backwards, in the springtime when they're spawning, where are they at? They're on shallow flats. That's where the fish are, shallow flats. Could be in a creek, could be in a pocket, could be in a bay. They're going to find shallow, hard bottoms. They'll try to find shallow, hard bottoms out of the wind, and it's usually a big flat area. So you take those areas on the map and you say, that's the obvious spot where they're going to be in the spring. So during the spawn, so where are they going to be pre-spawn? Before that, you just back away, back off of those flats onto the secondary points. And that's normally where they're going to be. They're going to be around those secondary points in a little deeper water. And bass always want to be near deep water. So even in the shallows, if they're shallow, they're usually going to have a path to get back to deeper water and kind of back into safety, if you will, in the deeper water. So you just kind of back off the flats into those secondary points, a little deeper water. That's where I'd try looking for pre-spawn fish. If they're not there, then you move a little deeper. You might have to go into the middle of the coves or the middle of the creeks and the little deeper water and see if they're there. That's kind of how, what's that pro's name who just won by fishing the brush piles out deep while everybody else was fishing the bank. He found the big pre-spawners out a little deeper on brush piles. So that's how you find the spot. It's not like, oh, it's April 1st. They're going to be here. No, all you can really know is in the springtime, they're all going to move shallow and start spawning. So where are they at in that process? Are they spawning? Are they moving up to spawn, meaning pre-spawn? Are they still back out of ways in deeper water? You just got to look around until you find them. And that's going to tell you how to fish and where to fish. Guggen says he found them feeding hard today. They really do get active before the fronts in the spring. Are they going to be suspended or on the bottom? Matthew tells you mostly close to the bottom. Especially the more they move up shallow, they're going to, as they get shallower, they're definitely going to be toward the bottom. When they're out deep is when they start to suspend. Suspending fish are a lot harder to catch. You have to throw a jerkbait or throw an A-rig or something like that for those suspending fish. All right, I told you guys today I am giving away the Monster Bass multi-species box. And so we've got to do a drawing for a winner, which means I've got to do a hat. And I've got the hat in mind here. Let's see where it's at here. Big front came through here today. Low of 35 tomorrow. Ooh, that's not good. 35. That sounds painful. All right, let's see which hat I got here. Okay. All right, I got a hat for you, and this is going to be the winner of the Monster Bass multi-species box. Before I do that, real quick, I'll show you what's in the box in case you don't know what's in the box. This may help you decide whether you want to try to win it. Some swim baits from Big Bite Baits, the 4.4-inch finesse swimmer baby brim. Some Cinco stick baits. This is Tech Bait Company. This looks like a black and blue. The beaver tail. This is a little lifelike finesse panfish. lure. A jerkbait, the Herky Jerky from Vicious Fishing. The Sugar Buzz Buzzbait, Strike King. The Rebel Crook Hopper. Nice little finesse crankbait that looks like a grasshopper. Speaking of rooster tails, these are Road Runners. They're not rooster tails, but they're similar. 2 packs of Road Runners. And the Bobby Garland Pile Driver. Plus a sticker. The Monster Bass sticker. I mean the, Monster Bass sticker. And I'm throwing a Mr. Bass sticker in there. And I've also got these Mr. Bass hat pins now. I'm going to throw one of those in there as well. These multi-species boxes, man, they are good. They have a ton of different stuff in here that you can fish. So, that's what you're trying to win today. So, here it goes. Off with the Royals hat. How about it? It's a nice looking hat. Maybe put a little bit more. There it is. What team could this possibly be? Crickets. Crickets. No response yet. Pretty cool. The New Orleans baby cakes. I like that. Real life. John actually got it, but he spelled it wrong. Should we give it to John or should we give it to Real Life? Real Life spelled it correctly. I could tell what John Gill was saying, though. What do you guys think? We'll put it up to a vote. John Gill or Real Life? Real Life. Christopher says, give it to John. Jan says, give it to Jan. Man, Jan, you didn't even guess. Oh, my goodness. Everybody says John. Sorry, Real Life. John, you're it. You have won the Monster Bass multi-species box. That's pretty sweet. That is a $35 value. Cool. All right, guys. I am done. I am finished. It's a school night. What do you guys think of Wednesday at 6:30? How do you like that time frame? Let me know in the comments. Smash the like button if you would. Appreciate all the support on the channel. Have a good night. Thanks for hopping on and joining us. It was fun. I will see you Saturday night, 8 o'clock. Saturday night, 8 o'clock. Be there for the spin to win. Spin to win. And I wish you luck fishing this weekend. Wish me luck. I'm going to break 100 this weekend. I feel it. See you guys. I'm ending in 3, 2, 1.